Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our journey in the first few decades of life is not the main story, but rather a preparation for what lies ahead. He said, "Life really begins at 40. Until then, you are just doing research." It's a bold statement that challenges the way most people view aging. We're taught to fear aging, to see midlife as a period of decline, chaos, or crisis. Popular culture is full of cliches about the so-called midlife crisis, a time of existential dread, impulsive decisions, and desperate attempts to cling to youth. But Jung offers a radically different perspective. What if this phase of life isn't a crisis, but an awakening? What if it's not an end, but a new beginning? To understand this, we need to look at what the first 40 years of life represent. Think of those decades as a phase of exploration, a period in which we gather experiences, build identities, and learn how the world works. It's a time of rapid growth, where we absorb ideas and values from those around us. But it's also a time of searching. Who am I? What should I do with my life? What will make me happy? These questions drive us in youth, but the answers often feel incomplete. In those early years, we're trying to understand life while still figuring out who we really are. We build careers, relationships, and families, often focus on external success and social approval. We learn, struggle, and sometimes fail, and all of this shapes us. However, as Jung suggests in the archetypes and the collective unconscious, all of that is preparation. It's research. It's laying the groundwork for something deeper. As we approach 40, we begin to realize that the old ways of living no longer satisfy us. The priorities that once seemed urgent, climbing the career ladder, fitting in, meeting expectations, begin to lose their appeal. We realize that much of what we've done has been shaped by other people's definitions of success and happiness. And that realization, though unsettling, is also liberating. It's the beginning of a new phase, what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of living life on our own terms. This shift isn't sudden. It doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, often beginning with small, quiet questions. Is this all there is? Am I living the life I really want? These questions may arise during a moment of reflection, a career milestone, a significant birthday, or even a quiet night alone. But once they appear, they don't go away. They grow louder, demanding answers. And those answers require us to face ourselves in ways we never have before. The world may see this as a midlife crisis. It's easy to label these moments of questioning and change as a breakdown. But Jung invites us to reframe this experience. What if it's not a crisis? What if it's an opportunity? What if this phase of life, with all its challenges, doubts, and changes, is exactly what we need to become the person we were always meant to be? In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung makes an observation. Midlife is not the beginning of the end. It is the beginning of something much more real, meaningful, and authentic. To fully understand Jung's perspective, it's helpful to consider how we view the first half of life. During that phase, we are focused on building what he called the persona, the external identity we present to the world. This persona is shaped by our upbringing, culture, and social expectations. It's the version of ourselves that seeks approval, fits in, and succeeds in the eyes of others. It's a necessary stage. Without it, we wouldn't learn how to navigate society or establish the foundation of adult life. But the persona is not the whole self. It's a mask, a role we play. And though it has its usefulness, it's only a part of who we are. The problem arises when we become overly attached to it, mistaking it for our true self. As we enter midlife, cracks in persona begin to appear. The roles we play, the successful professional, the devoted parent, the loyal partner, start to feel restrictive. We begin to sense there's more to us than the image we've been projecting. And that's where the real work begins. Jung called the process of going beyond the persona individuation. Individuation is about integrating all parts of ourselves, not just the socially acceptable ones, but also the hidden, shadowy aspects we've ignored or repressed. The shadow, as Jung described it in Man and His Symbols, contains everything we rejected about ourselves, our fears, insecurities, and unrealized desires. Facing the shadow can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it's essential for growth. Only by acknowledging and accepting these parts of ourselves can we become whole. In midlife, the process of individuation gains new urgency. The questions we face are no longer about external achievements, but about internal fulfillment. What really matters to me? What do I want to leave behind? What kind of life do I want to create? These are deeply personal questions, and the answers can't be found in other people's expectations. They require us to look inward, to listen to our own inner voice. This inward turn is often accompanied by a shift in priorities. In youth, we are driven by ambition, competition, and a desire to prove ourselves. But in midlife, we begin to seek something different: connection, meaning. Life becomes less about doing and more about being. It's no longer about proving our worth, but about living in alignment with our true self. Scientific studies confirm that this shift is supported by changes in the brain. Neuroscience research shows that as we age, the emotional centers of the brain become more balanced. We become less reactive and more reflective, better able to regulate our emotions and face life's challenges with calm and perspective. This emotional maturity allows us to make decisions based on our values rather than our fears. We stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. That doesn't mean midlife is free of challenges. On the contrary, it can be a time of great upheaval. The process of questioning and redefining ourselves often involves letting go of old identities, relationships, and goals. It can feel like a loss, and it's easy to understand why some people experience it as a crisis. But as Brené Brown highlights, what we call a midlife crisis is often dismantling, a moment when we are challenged to let go of who we think we should be and embrace who we truly are. This dismantling can be messy. It may involve hard conversations, big life changes, or periods of uncertainty, but it's also a time of incredible growth. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote that the primary human drive is the will to find meaning. In midlife, that will become more urgent. We are no longer content to live according to someone else's script. We want a life that feels meaningful, even if it's different from what we once imagined. That means facing the fears that have held us back. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. These fears can be paralyzing, but midlife offers an opportunity to confront them head-on. It's a chance to rewrite the story of our lives, to leave behind what no longer serves us and embrace what truly matters. Abraham Maslow, the pioneer of humanistic psychology, described this process as self-actualization, the drive to realize our full potential, to become the best version of ourselves. In midlife, self-actualization takes on a new depth. It's no longer about achieving external success, but about finding inner fulfillment. It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. This process isn't easy, but it's worth it. Studies show that people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond often report higher levels of life satisfaction than those in their 20s and 30s. They feel more connected to themselves and to others. They're less concerned with what others think and more focused on what brings them joy and purpose. That is the gift of midlife, the freedom to live on our own terms. Jung believed that this freedom comes from embracing the full complexity of who we are. It's about integrating the light and the dark, the successes and the failures, the dreams and the disappointments. It's about fully accepting ourselves, even the parts we find hard to face. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, Jung wrote in the Red Book, but it is also the most liberating. Midlife is not a time to despair over what we've lost. It's a time to celebrate what we've gained: wisdom, clarity, resilience. It's a time to build a life that reflects our true self, a life that feels real and whole. It's a time to stop doing research and start living. In that sense, midlife is not the beginning of the end. It is the beginning of something much deeper. It's a turning point, a chance to step into the life you've always wanted to live. And while the journey may be challenging, it is also profoundly rewarding. Life really begins at 40, not because we have all the answers, but because we finally begin to ask the right questions.